It was suggested to me it might be good if my videos had a small intro for people who might stumble on them randomly. So here I go. My name is Dawn, and I live in a box truck. And I used to live in a Chevy Express camper van. Before that, a Toyota Sienna minivan camper. And before that, I was just living out of my car. Now I've embarked on this box truck project, and I'm just kind of taking it day by day, step by step, as money allows me to improve it. Thanks for coming along for the ride. So, the last time I checked in with you guys to kind of tell you how March went as far as like doing little things for the box truck, the stuff I could afford. I left off, I had basically put 100 watts of solar on top of the box truck. And that 100 watts of solar, it wasn't great. It wasn't the best as it were. And so I pretty quickly needed to upgrade to 300 watts of solar. But there was a tiny project that I got to before I actually got to the solar, and that had to do with the door handle. Because another thing I showed you guys was that I actually had to take off the handle that was originally on the door that slides between the box and the cab. And a lot of people didn't understand why I didn't just put the latch on the interior, but there's actually nothing to latch to on the interior of the door because it slides on the outside of the wall on the inside, which means it has a latch wall in the driver's area, but there's literally nothing to latch to on this side. And I'm not highly concerned about locking myself in the box. If anything, I'm going to want another egress to get out of the box should I, for some reason, be trapped on this side and can't go through the cab. But that's not it. This door back here, 99% of the time, is just a wall. Like 99% of the time. The only reason I open that door is for loading and unloading of large items. It is not an entrance exit, and I don't plan for it to be a major entrance exit in any stage of the box truck. If I do decide that, or it is required, because I would like to get this turned into an RV, that I need an internal egress, it will be a door of some sort on the side walls, not that. I'm not messing with that. It takes somebody who knows what they're doing, and it's a more than one person job to remove that roll-up door. I don't have the money, time, or headspace for it, and I'm not that bothered by it, so I don't really need or want it removed. Like I said, 99% of the time, it's a wall, and I'm entering and exiting through the cab, which is why I needed to do this door handle project. Check that out first, and then we'll get into solar. So welcome to Dawn's Unbeautiful Box Truck. I am basically going to put a handle on this door. I bought a couple of handles. Forgive the lighting, I can't do any better right now. So yeah. I bought these two handles from Home Depot. They're identical. They're basically your standard little metal handle, because if I close this all the way, it's very sorry, my head's off camera, but it's very hard to open it. So I'm going to put a handle on this side and a handle on the other side, and basically that way I just have a handle to open and close the door from either side of the door. And unlike the latch, it won't lock me in. It just gives me some momentum to control the door. So it's almost good. It's not great. I feel really cramped, and like all this extra fabric is making me look like I just gained like 30,000 pounds back. But anyway, there is now a handle here. It's not great because the screw, even the shortest screws that came with the handle, are too long. So I'm going to have to replace them at some point. But even right now, just being able to do this on either side to get in or out is helpful, and better than it was before, because I was afraid of closing it too much, because after I took the latch off, I didn't really have anything to grab. And like I said, the way this was designed before is a work truck. Once you close this, it latched. And so if I closed it on the inside, I could have accidentally latched myself in there. So for now, this is a better solution. I do like the handle. Either I'm going to need a spacer in here of some sort just in the handle area. I also have some holes from the old latch that need to get covered up. I'll probably want to paint these. Eventually, I'm going to want to wipe this whole door down and make everything except the handle white. So either I'm going to get shorter bolts of the same size and replace them, or I'm going to put a spacer in here because we have like a 1/4 of an inch gap that I can pull this handle out. So with the door handle taken care of, I could kind of focus on other things. And also, like, I ordered my solar panels and then I had to wait for them to come in. Now, I ended up going with flexible flat solar panels, and a lot of people are going to think it's for stealth. This roof is so high, I don't even know how much people pay attention to it, so it wasn't really for that. It was honestly a weight thing. One, unless I could get a custom rack built, I wasn't really sure how I would attach solid panels to the roof. And on top of that, I was going to have to do it myself. Now, putting a rigid panel on my minivan wasn't a big deal because literally I could stand on the ground and put that panel on. I think I might have used a step stool. And then for my camper van, it was just a shorter distance, and it was just a shorter distance from the ground to the roof. So I could do this thing where I kind of leveraged the panel, pushed it up on the roof, then climbed the ladder and did the work I needed to do on top. I had no guarantee of help, and I needed power right away. So really, me choosing the flexible panels, which are mostly less efficient than the rigid panels, I mostly chose them for weight, and that was weight I was going to add to the roof, plus weight I would have to lift up a ladder to get to the roof. With another person, I might have tried to figure out something with rigid panels, but the timeline in which I needed to solve the problem and need to be able to execute it on my own was rather small, as in I needed it solved yesterday, not 3 weeks down the line or 5 weeks down the line. Like, it was, I needed this fixed yesterday type of problems. Now, the second problem was I had a ladder that could not reach my roof. It was fine for the camper van. It was fine for the minivan camper, but it was not going to reach the roof of this van unless I put it in a straight position. And I talk about this in some of the clips I'm about to show, but I didn't feel safe doing that. So the other problem I knew I had to solve is I needed my own ladder. I'd rented a ladder before, but I basically decided an actual ladder that I purchased was going to have to be something that I pursued. So I needed to solve that problem in order to get the 300 watts of solar on the roof. And something else came up while I was just trying to solve getting this 300 watts of solar on the roof. All right, so things are slowly coming together. Today I'm actually headed to a commercial tire and mechanic place. They're going to be doing my front tires and my front ball joints, which was the only thing that was found when I got my inspection when I got the box truck. The hardest part about having a pet when you need to spend all day in a mechanic shop is they're sort of stuck too. And I felt bad that Mickey was stuck in his carrier half the day while we were waiting for this to get done. Luckily, it was early, and so we were out with a decent amount of time left in the day. We got new tires, we got the ball joints fixed, and the van is in a good place to just like for me to drive it around as I need to. So I got this. And what is this big U thing? There's two of them, and they're ladder hooks that go on the side of the box truck. What I've realized is I'm not going to get anything done, including putting those solar panels on the roof, until I have a ladder. And right now, I don't have one. Well, I do have one. I have my extendable ladder, and it can fold out flat, which is tall enough to reach the roof, but it feels really unsafe when I'm climbing it that way. Like, I don't like it outside the A-frame formation for safety. So last time I had to get on the roof, which was when I ran this solar wire over here, I rented a ladder from Home Depot. It wasn't that much. It was like $50, but I have a few roof projects coming up, and eventually that renting is going to add up. And so I'm on the verge of eliminating that problem. But before I can think about getting a ladder, which I may be able to get really cheap, I need to attach ladder hooks to the side of my vehicle, and it'll add to the industrial look. Now, my biggest worry is that also adds, this is quite a bit of space to add on the side of the box, which is already kind of big. But you get into a bigger vehicle and you just have to be careful. And if I put them high enough, like most cars are not going to be within the width of this hook. Alright, so I just left Home Depot. I have a collection of things that'll hopefully help me hang this ladder rack. Like I said, I'm debating how much sunlight I have to make this happen, but I'm gonna try my best. The first hole you ever poke in your vehicle is really scary. Technically, this was my second because I had already run solar wire from the roof, but I was still really nervous, and believe me, I'd measured a lot before I started drilling this first hole in the side. It is a part of that metal bracket because I thought that would be more stable, but really this was a two-person job. It really needed somebody outside and inside the box truck at the same time, but I didn't have that person, so I did the best I could. I honestly ended up using duct tape to hold the brackets on the outside of the van so I could go inside and fiddle around with the bolts. Like I said, it would have been easier with another human being, but since I didn't have that, I just used tape as a substitute to just kind of hold things in place so I could get things set up on the inside. When I went on the inside, I basically taped some wrenches to the bolts to kind of hold them in place, and I actually went in and out of the box truck several times because they kept falling, but eventually I got everything tight enough, and I had ladder brackets on the side of my vehicle. Now that I was all ready for a ladder, I drove about an hour to get it. It was an old painter's ladder I found on Craigslist for like $40, which was a deal. In addition to that, I also added rain guards to the box truck. So Mickey is eating, and I am rolling up my sleeping bag, which I do every morning right now. I just sleep on the sleeping bag on the floor. And yes, it's still better than the van, because in the morning I need to do this. Again, this has nothing to do with the van being quote-unquote bad. I did non-standing for almost 3 years, and I've decided to try something new. Some people are upset about that still. It's really interesting how many people are upset about that. But it does feel good to stand vertical. It's like one day I'll have a bed, one day I'll have a wall, one day I'll have a proper kitchen. Right now I don't. I'll get there piece by piece, bit by bit. And this morning
I'm hoping to finally get that solar on the roof. I finally had all the pieces come together, and it's amazing. You would think, okay, get solar, put it on the roof, but no. I had to get hooks for the side of the truck. I had to get a ladder. I need to do it when I can reasonably see. The sun is not quite out yet, and since these are flexible panels, I can pretty much do this by myself. If I got hard-sided panels, besides things like weight and other things that factor into my decision, if I got hard-sided panels, I definitely would have needed help. I'm not even going to eat breakfast myself this morning because I want to get the panels up first. I'm actually parked about 2 blocks from Home Depot on a street where a truck can park. I'm actually right near some businesses, so I'm on a little business and kind of strip, but I'm not going to show where I am because that has gotten me into trouble before. And so we're going to keep that on the DL until we get into the parking lot, which everybody's seen me work in. And we're going to get some solar on the roof, and hopefully today we'll pull in some decent solar and I can start to try to normalize myself again because it's been off, guys.
Once I got to the Home Depot parking lot, which is right near a Starbucks, I really couldn't convince myself not to go grab me a cup of caffeine just to get me going. In my case, it's always a hot tea.
Hi, Mickey. How you doing? It's raining out here. You don't like the rain. So I really dragged my feet, but right now it's like 10 o'clock, and as you can see, I am barely pulling in about 5 watts, and I'm pulling out 38, and really the only thing plugged in is the fridge and a light and Mickey's water. Like, that's the only thing plugged into here. And so what we're going to do is we are going to put some more solar on the roof and see if we can improve this.
Luckily, the little bit of drizzle rain that had fallen from the sky pretty much stopped, and I could start my solar project. So the first thing I had to do was get the ladder set up.
Alright, so as you can see, I got 2 150 watt solar panels. I have a pair of parallel cables from RV. I did buy these. Honestly, I just picked them randomly on Amazon, and I was like, oh, I bought from RV without realizing. I have worked with them before, but I bought these. I have some flex tape for the panels. Yep, you heard me right. Flex tape. Trust me, it's gonna work. That's all I've had on my other panel, and it hasn't gone anywhere. Some scissors to cut the flex tape, and some solar tools, basically mostly just the MC4 tools. So I can connect the panels to the parallel cables and then get those hooked into the connector that's running the wire down into the box. So we're gonna do that now.
Now that I had myself all set up, I went ahead and started bringing solar panels to the roof. Now that my panels were on the roof, I used my MC4 disconnection tool to disconnect the 100 watt panel that I had placed up there previously. Once the 100-watt panel was disconnected, I proceeded to cut away the flex tape because there was no prying it up. Once the 100-watt panel was ready to move for all intents and purposes, I went ahead and started connecting the two new panels via the parallel cables I bought to the cable entry box I had already set up. Now I was ready to set up the 100-watt panel into its new position. So my solar panel situation had been reset and I was in a much better place. But I was not done. While I was on the roof drilling holes, I wanted to use this marine cable entry clamp to be able to set up the antenna for my cell booster, and so I began doing that project as well. This is another one of those projects that would have been easier with two people, as I did need to set up nuts and bolts, and what I ended up doing was the same tape up the wrench trick that I did before, and it was intermittently successful. There was one less thing to do to hopefully protect the interior of my box, and that was putting sealant around the new cable entry area. And with that, my antenna was set up, my solar was on the roof, and for now, we were as far as we could go. So with power working out a little better, at the time I still was playing ring around the vehicles. I still had both my camper van and my box truck. But luckily my box truck, I felt now more comfortable driving it around, and it was never about the size, because honestly the cab is it's just a van. Like if you've driven a Ford E350 pickup truck or van, like it's the same cab, you know. The other box truck I looked at that I ended up not being able to buy, it was a GMC, and literally that cab was identical to the van I sold. Like the cab was entirely identical. That unfortunately was a box truck I've missed out on. So it driving it due to the cab wasn't really a big deal. It was a little bit wider and a lot taller, so I had to be aware of that, but there was no real disconnect with driving the box truck after driving the van. I would say it was more of an adjustment to go from the minivan to the full-size van, the Chevy van, than it was going from the Chevy van to the box truck, because the cabs are so identical in spacing, design, and everything else. Like that was pretty easy, but I knew that it needed those new front tires and the ball joints done. And luckily somebody loaned me the money. And I've been able to pay some of that back on top of being able to pay back the woman who helped me buy the box truck when I sold the van. Speaking of which, this was about the last thing I got done before I sold the van. But between the day I installed solar and the day I sold the van got broken into. The glass was shattered on the passenger side, and somebody stole my personal jump starter. That was the only thing they stole out the van, but unless they wanted to like drag a car fridge out or steal a camp stove, there wasn't anything really else to steal in it. I showed it to somebody that morning, and that night it was broken into. And there are a couple of people who suspect the person who saw the van might also have been the perpetrator or connected to the perpetrators. But what I ended up having to do is put the van in storage. And luckily I was in a place where I was comfortable driving the box truck. I was living out of the box truck. Simple as I am now. And so the van went to storage with me prepared to let it sit there for months if need be, because it was safe. It was safe. As long as I went in there occasionally, ran the engine, checked on it, made sure it was okay, I felt very confident about it just being in storage. And I lined up like 8 people to see the van, thinking for sure, just as it had been, nobody was going to buy it. And the first person on that list of 8 bought it. But not for themselves, for their friend who was homeless or is homeless. It depends on your perspective. This person did not choose to live in a vehicle, but is currently living in one. My old van. And that was my goodbye to my Chevy Express camper van. The camper van I had when I adopted my little Mickey. I was really worried about him leaving that van. That's been his home since he was a baby. So that about wraps it up. 300 watts solar in the roof, a goodbye to my camper van, and a handle for my door, which isn't exciting to you guys, but has helped me out bunches. See you in the next video. So wow, I covered a lot in this video. I didn't even really cover the 4 times I went to Home Depot, just trying to knock out stuff. And every time I actually had to put the ladder back because I didn't want to leave it just sitting in the parking lot and then re-pull it out and reset it up. But that's pretty boring footage, so I just kind of skimmed over those parts. But really, I was really excited when I got these projects done. So as normal, guys, I'm going to give you a thanks for watching this video. If you think you want to follow more about this journey, then you can subscribe. There's a subscribe button below this video. And if you just appreciated this video, but you're not sure that you want to subscribe, you can hit that thumbs up. Actually, you can do that even if you subscribe. And you can also leave a comment. And if you didn't like this video, there's a thumbs down. That counts too, so feel free to knock yourself out. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this journey, for watching this journey, and to my Patreon and YouTube membership supporters, special thank you for throwing in that extra support. It really does help.